This one is for the older hearts tonight. Not scary for the sake of scary, but the kind of story that makes you check your phone and wonder who you've been meaning to call. What would you do if your neighbor knocked on your door every night at exactly 2:13 a.m.? Not 2:12, not 2:14, 2:13, and every time you opened the door, he asked the same question. Did you hear it? That's where this story starts, and the answer wasn't a ghost. It was worse. It was guilt. My name is Grandpa Ben, and this story is about a man named Russell Moore who learned that some things don't haunt a house, they haunt a heart. Russell lived in Cedar Hollow, Ohio, in the last little house before the woods, 46 years old. Divorced, worked nights at a packaging warehouse. Good man, mostly, but like a lot of good men, he had gotten real good at saying, "Not my problem." Neighbor needed help moving a couch? Man, I'm beat. Mama called twice in one day? I'll hit her back tomorrow. Someone at work looked like they were falling apart? Shoot, everybody's got problems. And tomorrow, well, tomorrow is where a whole lot of love goes to die. Next door lived Mr. Alden Price, 78 years old. Skinny as a broom handle. Always wore the same brown cardigan, even when July was acting a fool. Folks in town called him strange. Not dangerous, just strange. He labeled his soup cans by date, kept every receipt in little envelopes, mowed his lawn in lines so straight you'd think he used a ruler. And every evening at 6 sharp, he stood on his porch and waved at Russell. Every single evening. Russell usually waved back from inside his truck. Quick little wave, the kind that says, "I see you, old-timer, but don't start talking." Then one Friday in October, Alden knocked on Russell's door. It was raining hard, not pretty movie rain, mean rain, the kind that slaps windows sideways. Russell opened the door with a frozen dinner in one hand and one work boot half untied. Alden stood there soaked, holding a flashlight. "Russell," he said, "I'm sorry to bother you, but there's a sound under my house." Russell frowned. What kind of sound? Alden swallowed, like somebody dragging a chair. Russell glanced at the rain, then at his microwave dinner, then back at Alden. What time? Alden's voice got low. 2:13. Russell almost laughed. Pipes don't wear watches, Mr. Price. Alden didn't smile. No, they don't. Russell said, "How long has this been going on?" Alden looked toward his house, started back last month. Now right there, Russell should have put on a coat, should have grabbed a flashlight, should have walked 20 steps across wet grass and checked on an old man who was clearly scared. But Russell was tired, and tired people can make selfishness sound real reasonable. So he said, "I got work in 6 hours. Call somebody tomorrow." Alden looked down. "I did." "Who?" "The police came Monday." Russell blinked. "And?" "They didn't find anything. I wouldn't let them in the basement. Lights out down there, and I told them I wasn't going." Russell sighed. "Well, there you go. Probably raccoons or old boards settling." Alden nodded like he expected that answer. Then he turned and walked home through the rain. Russell closed the door. And friend, that should have been the end of it. But at 2:13 that morning, Russell woke up to 3 knocks on his front door. Knock, knock, knock. He sat up fast, heart kicking like a mule. For a second, he thought he dreamed it. Then Alden's voice came through the door. Russell threw on a hoodie and opened up. Alden stood under the porch light, dry this time, eyes wide, face pale. He whispered, "Did you hear it too?" Now there's your first question. What did Alden hear, and why did he need someone else to hear it with him? Russell rubbed his face. "Mr. Price, it's 2 a.m. 2:13, Alden said. Russell checked his phone. 2:13 a.m. That annoyed him more than it scared him. "I didn't hear anything." Alden looked past Russell into the dark hallway. "You will?" Then he walked away. "And let me tell you something. When a man says you will at 2 a.m, you don't sleep easy after that." Russell tried. He lay there staring at the ceiling fan. Every creak in the house sounded personal. Every branch outside sounded like fingers on siding. But by morning he convinced himself Alden was losing it. That's something people do. When somebody's pain makes us uncomfortable, we call it crazy. Saves us from helping. The next night Russell got home late. There was a note taped to his door. Crooked handwriting. "Russell, I'm sorry about last night. If it happens again, please just listen." Alden Russell folded it, sighed, and put it on the kitchen counter. "Bless his heart," he muttered, which in Ohio and Texas both can mean I feel bad, but not bad enough to do anything. At 2:13, 3 knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Russell opened the door, angry this time. Before he could speak, Alden put one finger to his lips. "Listen," Russell almost told him to get lost. But then, from somewhere under Alden's house, came a sound. Slow, heavy, wood scraping concrete. Like a kitchen chair being dragged across a basement floor. Russell froze. Alden whispered, "You heard it." The sound came again. Scrape, pause, scrape, then 3 soft taps. Tap, tap, tap. Russell stepped onto the porch. The woods behind the houses were black as spilled ink. Alden said, "It stops when I turn on the basement light." Russell looked at him. "Then turn it on." Alden's mouth trembled. "Bulb burned out 3 weeks ago." "And you didn't change it?" Alden stared at the ground. "I don't go down there anymore. Now hold on to that." Alden Price, the man who labeled soup cans, measured lawn lines, and kept receipts from 1988, was too scared to change one light bulb. Why? Russell grabbed a flashlight and crossed the yard with him. Alden's house smelled like lemon cleaner, old paper, and loneliness. Shoes lined up by the door. Mail stacked by date. A clock ticking loud in the hallway. Alden led him to the laundry room and pointed to a narrow wooden door. Russell opened it. Cold air came up from the dark. He used his flashlight and stepped down. The stairs creaked under him. Alden stayed at the top. The basement was low and unfinished. Concrete floor, old shelves, a workbench, cardboard boxes. And in the middle of the floor sat a wooden kitchen chair. Russell shined the light on it. The legs were scratched underneath. Fresh scratches, like it had been dragged. Russell swallowed. "Mr. Price, somebody been in your house?" "No, you sure? I lock everything at 7. Russell moved the flashlight around. Then he saw the wall behind the furnace. Something scratched into the dust. Numbers? 213. Russell stared. "Alden, did you write that?" The old man's voice came from the stairs. "I don't remember writing it." That answer was worse than no, because it meant maybe he had. And that brings us to the second question. If Alden was scared of the basement, how did his chair move? And how did those numbers get written in dust? Russell didn't have an answer. Not yet. He got Alden upstairs, locked the doors, and told him to call his son in the morning. Alden gave a small laugh. My son thinks I watch too much news. What's his name? Dale lives in Columbus. Call him anyway. Alden nodded, but Russell could tell he wouldn't. Next morning, Russell went to Miller's Smoke for lunch. Ray was behind the counter slicing brisket. Jalen sat in the corner booth scrolling his phone. Russell told them a little, not all of it, just enough. Ray squinted. Alden Price? Man, that dude's always been wound tight. Jalen said, could be raccoons, bro. Raccoons are wild little criminals. Russell said, raccoons don't write numbers. Ray stopped slicing. What numbers? Russell wished he hadn't said that. Outside, I was sitting on the bench with a coffee. I saw Russell's face and said, you look like a man who found something he can't explain. He said, you believe houses can be haunted? I told him, usually by what people refuse to say. He didn't like that. Most folks don't. Truth hits different when it walks up without knocking. That night, Russell waited. He sat in his living room with the lights-off baseball bat across his knees. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock. 2 at 2:12 his phone lit up. 1 minute. The whole house felt like it was holding its breath. At 2:13, nothing, no knock, no scrape, no tap. Russell almost laughed. Then his phone rang. Unknown number, he answered. At first only static. Then Alden's voice, small and shaky. Russell, Mr. Price? I'm in the basement. Russell stood up. How'd you call me? My old cordless phone. I keep it on the charger by the workbench. What are you doing down there? Alden breathed hard. I woke up here. Russell's blood went cold. What? I woke up sitting in the chair. Then Alden whispered, I found the box. The call cut off. And there's the third question. What box was hidden in that basement, and why did Alden sound more ashamed than afraid? Russell ran next door. The front door was unlocked. That scared him more than if it had been kicked in. He found Alden sitting on the basement floor, beside the workbench. Not hurt, just shaking. In front of him was a green metal lockbox. Old, rust around the handle. The wooden chair sat nearby, drag marks behind it. Russell looked at Alden's hands. Dust on the fingers, dust under the nails. Alden saw him looking. I did it, didn't I? Russell didn't answer. Alden looked at the wall, at the scratched numbers. Been doing it in my sleep. Russell crouched beside him. How long? Alden wiped his face. The sound started again last month, after I moved that chair to reach this shelf. I saw the box and shoved it back. That night, the scraping started. Russell understood then. Not all of it, but enough. Alden wasn't being haunted by someone in the basement. He was walking down there half asleep, dragging the chair, scratching the time, trying to reach a memory he was too scared to open. Russell said, "What's in the box?" Alden's voice broke. My wife's letters. His wife Clara had died 12 years earlier. Quiet woman, church piano player, made peach cobbler that could make a grown man behave. Alden opened the box. Inside were envelopes tied with blue ribbon, old photos, a silver key, and a cassette tape. Alden picked up the tape like it might bite him. Russell said, "What's on it?" Alden stared at it. The last message Clara left me. The basement seemed to shrink. Alden said, "She called me the night she died." Russell sat on the bottom stair. Alden kept talking, because sometimes confession starts rolling and all you can do is let it. She wanted me to come home early. Said she felt strange. Said she was scared. You didn't go?" Alden shook his head. "We argued that morning. Stupid stuff. Bills, my temper. I saw her number and I let it ring." His voice cracked. "She left this message at 2:13. Russell looked at the dust on the wall. Alden whispered, 'I never played it. Not once, not once. Why?' Alden squeezed the tape. "Because if she asked for help, and I wasn't there, then I'd have to know exactly what kind of man I was. There it is. That dark little room inside a person. Not monsters, not ghosts. Just the message you won't play, because it might tell you the truth." Russell looked at him, and for the first time, he didn't see strange. He saw scared. "And brother, there's a difference." Russell said, "Play it." Alden shook his head. "No, you knocked on my door because you wanted someone to hear it with you. No, yes, sir, you did. There was an old cassette player on the shelf. Dusty but working. Russell put the tape in. Alden turned away. Russell pressed play. Static. A click. Then Clara's voice filled the basement. Soft, tired, but not panicked. "Alden, honey, it's me." Alden covered his mouth. "I know we fussed this morning. We always fuss over dumb things." A little laugh. Then a cough. "I don't feel too good, so I called Linda next door. She's coming over." Alden looked up fast. Russell froze. Clara continued, "I just wanted to say, don't sit in that anger too long. You do that, baby, you build a whole house inside it." Alden began to cry. Quiet, like he didn't want to disturb her voice. Clara said, "And if you hear this later, I love you. I loved you this morning too, even when you were being hard-headed." Another little laugh. "You better eat something besides crackers tonight." Then the tape clicked off. That was it. No accusation, no blame, no final sentence meant to break him. Just love. And somehow, that broke him anyway. Alden whispered, "She wasn't alone?" Russell said, "No, sir." "She called Linda?" "Yes." Alden bent forward, sobbing into his hands. 12 years. 12 years he had punished himself for a crime that never happened. 12 years he had made a jail cell out of one unanswered call. And when the memory came back last month, his body started walking him to the basement at 2:13. Because his heart was tired of carrying what his mouth refused to say. Next morning, Russell came back with tools, changed the basement bulb, fixed the laundry room door, moved the chair upstairs, called Dale in Columbus himself and said, "Your dad needs you, man, for real this time. No drama, no guilt trip, just the truth." Dale came that weekend. Looked embarrassed, hugged his father like he wasn't sure he still knew how. Alden made coffee for everyone. Terrible coffee, tasted like burnt tires and bad decisions. Russell drank it anyway. For 7 nights no sound came from the basement, no scraping, no tapping, no knocks. Then something happened. On the 8th evening, Russell's phone rang. His mother. He stared at the screen, same as always. He was tired, same as always. He almost let it go, same as always. Then he looked across the yard. Alden was on his porch at 6 sharp, waving. Russell answered. "Hey, Ma," his mother sounded surprised. "Well, look who remembered I'm alive." Russell laughed softly. "Yeah, I know, I've been acting sorry." She said, "You okay?" Russell looked at Alden's porch light, and he said, "I'm trying to be." That Sunday, Russell drove 2 hours to see her. Fixed a loose porch step, ate meatloaf, listened to stories he had heard 100 times. And when she talked too long, he didn't rush her. Because one day you'd give anything to hear somebody repeat themselves. A month later, Alden moved to Columbus to be closer to Dale. Before he left, he gave Russell the silver key from Clara's box. Russell said, "What's this for?" Alden smiled. "Clara's old roll-top desk. I kept it locked after she passed. What's inside? Recipes, birthday cards. Probably nothing worth money. Then why give it to me?" Alden looked across the yard toward the house that had kept him lonely for 12 years. Reminder of what? Alden put the key in Russell's palm. Open things before they haunt you. Now that'll preach. So if your phone rings tonight, answer it. If there's an apology stuck in your throat, say it. If there's a message you've been scared to play, play it. Because most of the time, life doesn't knock forever. And guilt always knows the time. It comes back at 2:13, again and again, until you finally open the door.